Welcome back, demons. Quick reaction. I saw this guy, Adam, go on CNN and destroy this CNN guy. So I'm curious to see what that looks like. And we can articulate this conversation between the two and how it highlights the current rhetoric regarding political violence. Let's dive into it.
Can't you just take responsibility for it?
Oh,
On the left.
me?
You literally said that.
Listen, let me finish.
And then you agreed with it.
You want to know what I said? I said Donald Trump created this environment over the past decade. You sat here and said, I need to take responsibility. I'm a 22-year-old YouTuber. You hold me to a higher standard than the man that
I'm
we
holding you
just
to your
listened
standard of your punditry.
Donald
Your
Trump was
punditry
just
is that Trump's
vomiting
fault.
vitriol out of his mouth about how the other party is weak and evil. And he just said the party of hate, evil, and Satan. You blind yourself to that, and you're focusing on a 22-year-old YouTuber.
Hey everyone, Adam Mockler here. This is going to be a
Hey, it's crazy that the Republicans even think this is a conversation. That trying to compare, and this is what Destiny said on Piers Morgan, which holds a lot of weight. What a content creator, a personality on social media, what they say, what their rhetoric is, who they influence, to even dare compare that to the president of the United States, the leader of the biggest party, or one of the biggest parties in America, one of the main ones. Dare I say, 50% of the people in this world voted for him. He has one of the most dedicated political movements in, I don't know, ever, to the point where we call MAGA cult-like. I don't call it cult-like. I say it's a cult. And there's comparative rhetoric between Donald Trump and everybody else. It's so ridiculous. But this is the standard of Donald Trump. He can say whatever he wants, and the MAGA bootlickers will do nothing about it.
good video. I just wrapped up my New York Media Week with one final debate on CNN, and I faced off against MAGA Mockler feed.
He tried to pressure Eric's a series of events.
To watch until the end. I urge you guys to follow the Adam Mockler feed, and once again, thank you all.
The series of events that took place here, we have to actually be clear about what happened, right? He tried to pressure Eric Siebert at the Eastern District of Virginia to pursue this prosecution. He did not. The U.S. prosecutors there said they did not see enough evidence. So he forces him out. He publicly declares to Pam Bondi, you need to target.
Get your bag, boy.
Labeling James Comey. And then right after that installs Lindsey Halligan, these political enemies, specifically labeling James Comey. And then right after that installs Lindsey Halligan, a former insurance lawyer with no prosecutorial experience, to go in there. And then within days, Comey's indicted even after rank and file prosecutors, they gave her a declination memo that said, this is why we don't think there's enough evidence. So I don't think this is just the process playing out. I think this is Donald Trump explicitly abusing his power and directing the prosecution of a political enemy.
You said we have to.
That's exactly true. How he laid out to it perfectly embodies the situation that is taking place. And it's very obvious at this point, months into his presidency, that if you don't listen to what he says, he's just going to fire you and hire someone else. And for a system that's supposed to work with checks and balances to ensure that everything that is done is in the best interest of the country and not the man, we are failing at that dramatically. And we know why. It's because the Republicans have created a whole framework to allow Donald Trump at the head. I mean, people may call it Project 2025, but it does also fall in line with the idea that the Republicans have been pushing for a unitary executive theory in which the executive branch, mainly the president of the United States, gets consolidated, full, uncontrollable, unvetted power. And this leads to an eventual dictatorship. That is the goal of what the Republicans want. So they are no longer pro-America, they're pro-power. That's what they want. And MAGA supporters are more than willing to give it to them because they believe these Republicans have their best interests in mind, and they don't. They never have. Republicans have never performed as good as Democrats, rarely ever, when it comes to so many of the metrics of health, of like well-being, of gun violence, of violence in general, of crime, Republicans always do worse consistently. But the only thing that they truly keep in stow is their use of guns so they can shoot things, pew pew. You know, they want to shoot a can or shoot a deer. They want to drill oil, destroying our environment and ruining our atmosphere. And they want to embody religious values and virtues that they themselves do not give two shits about. The Republicans are the embodiment of everything that they accuse the Democrats of being.
Be very clear about what happened. And then you left out the most critical part, where a prosecutor has to go into a grand jury, present the evidence, and make the case why charges are warranted. And the grand jury has to agree with that. In this case, they did. Now, I don't know if he'll be convicted or not, but you can't leave out and deny that there's a critical step where average, ordinary Americans get put in a room and they ultimately have to decide, does a case go or does it not go? And then they will decide whether you're guilty or whether you're not guilty.
He's boiling down the procedure of this way too simply. Because a lot of these cases, one, take time, take resources. And if there's not enough evidence to prosecute, then you're just wasting time and resources. You can try to fluff it up as much as you want and, oh, yeah, let's put it in front of a grand jury. And I'll be honest, at this point, there's something to be said about we might eventually lead into a portion we kind of are in terms of our judicial system being fractured. I mean, the Supreme Court is, majority of them are little Donald Trump dick suckers. So it's not looking good.
That is an important part of the process that he cannot really alter or change.
Just worth noting, I mean, two things. One, there was a third charge that the grand jury said no to.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I mean, this is, you probably will hear a lot about this as this proceeds. Probable cause is what you need to get a charge, which is a very low bar. Beyond a reasonable doubt is what you need to actually convict. But to Alyssa's point, that may not be the point of the message that's being sent here.
Yeah, Donald Trump has done this with a few people. He directly calls out their name online on his True Social, and then within days, you see them either targeted, their show gets pulled off, they get indicted. And when it comes to Eric Siebert, you can sit here and argue that, Trump had nothing to do with this, but it's so clear that he was putting his thumb on the scale when he fired Eric Siebert, and then, 6 days before the statute of limitations are up, this new federal prosecutor is rushing this through. And I agree, we should let the process play out. It's fine to let it go through a grand jury, but can you at least concede that Trump was putting his thumb on the scale when he posted Comey's name, 4 days before Comey was indicted?
I don't think anyone is disputing that he thinks James Comey
Did he put his thumb on the scale,
is a bad person who deserves to be investigated, and if a grand jury so chooses,
Did Trump put his thumb on the scale, though?
He has never denied that. He's been very clear about it, has he not?
Isn't this all just kind of exhausting for the American public? Like, Trump did run on we shouldn't weaponize the DOJ.
It's exhausting now.
No, it was exhausting when Biden did it. It was exhausting.
So this is another strategy the Republicans who have no I've lost so much respect for Republicans. And the crazy thing is, before Donald Trump's presidency, I would say I probably leaned more right wing than left wing. And it's crazy to say, I've been in the military. I am definitely not pro taking guns away. There are certain things that I do think can go too far with climate change activism or trans activism. And so much more stuff that I was I'll probably lean a little bit more to the right. I was very disappointed on how they treated one of my Republican friends back when I was at a liberal arts college, because I knew him personally and I didn't think he was racist, but he was giving this blanketed term and I hung out with him. He was a nice guy. But that said, this is an overcorrection that is so disgusting and so blatant that Republicans are not even trying to be virtuous anymore. They've lost everything that made them Republican in the first place. That's something that I do think you could be proud of being. They went so far as to treat trans people, immigrants, treat Democrats, leftists, all these people as demons, as the enemy. It's not about protecting the country, the republic that we live in. It's about advocating for modified rights based off misinformation and blanketed rhetoric. It's so disgusting. This whole idea that the MAGA is trying to play victim because of Donald Trump's indictments is such a false flag. It's so disgusting, and there's such pieces of shit. Because imagine a situation where a guy who let me give you a perfect example, one that we all can hopefully look at him and say he was a terrible person. Imagine a situation where we are looking through Diddy's history and we put him through all these indictments, all these trials. He gets crucified for everything he's done in the past. And for some reason, when the lawyer said, "Oh, you're just trying to prosecute a black person," the jury agreed, the judge agreed, and he ended up going free. And then the moment he got a foothold in the industry, he started using his power to go after everybody who accused him of doing the Diddy parties and the stuff with the oil, or accusing him for doing sexual misconduct. He just went after him. And then the response to anytime someone's like, "You're abusing your power," is, "Oh, now I'm using the power." When in reality, you're just a terrible person. You deserve to be went after because of the terrible things you did. And this is the same scenario. They didn't go after Donald Trump just because he's Donald Trump. They went after Donald Trump because he is a terrible, terrible human being. He is someone who does not care about America, doesn't care about the rule of law, doesn't care about the Constitution. He cares about himself, his power, and his money. So boo-hoo. Go cry tears at a lake for someone who gives a shit.
Oh,
Why
now
is-
we're
wait,
exhausted.
Trump-
Now we're
no,
exhausted.
I
Wait.
criticized it when Joe Biden did it,
Can I ask
but
you-
now he's choosing to do the exact same thing at a much grander scale, all while there are fewer jobs than there are people unemployed
James
right now.
Comey's not
Why
running
is
for
this
president.
so-
I
wanna
make
make
Haley was running for president.
He had a
Can
trial.
anyone point to one single example of President Joe Biden, privately or publicly, in any documented evidence of our reality?
Have you ever wanted to
Make your money out of him. I'm just a cheapskate. I don't want to play for YouTube Premium.
To prosecute his political document to one single example of President Joe Biden, privately or publicly, in any documented evidence of our reality, directing his Attorney General Merrick Garland to prosecute his political opponents, let alone protect his own son, who got indicted under his watch. When did
What?
Show me.
So there's no evidence. Now I'm gonna let him finish his stupid statement that actually is not engaging with what he said. I'm gonna let him finish.
Show me. Show me.
Okay, pardon him. So he's a fucking moron. So Joe Biden pardoned him after everything went through. He wouldn't have pardoned him, but once he realized that Donald Trump was going to become president, Donald Trump was going to use all his power to go after his enemies, including Hunter Biden. Oh shit! Look, he's doing exactly what we knew that he was going to do. So that's why Joe Biden pardoned him. Is it against his principles or is it against his prior statements? Of course. But when you realize that Donald Trump is an evil piece of shit and does not care about actual rule of law, and he's just going after people because they were mean to him in the past, then at this point, I can't blame him. You got to put as any protections you can to go up against the evil that is taking place. So the answer for, is there any evidence of Joe Biden doing any of the things that is being elicited here, is no, there isn't, which is why he said pardon, which is a retroactive action that took place after there is a guarantee, for the most part, that Donald Trump is about to become president. So
Show me the answer to when did he direct Merrick Garland to prosecute Donald Trump?
I want your answer to that.
He publicly, in a Politico story, was reported to have been fuming to anyone who would listen that Merrick Garland was not moving fast.
Wait,
Did
so
he tell Merrick
he
Garland?
publicly was fuming privately? Is that
No,
what you said?
it was
right there?
he's asked for
Did he
evidence
tell
of it. He was in a
Merrick?
Politico
Did he
story.
tell
They were
Merrick?
reporting on it.
Did he tell Merrick Garland?
I don't know what he did.
Prosecute.
Oh.
So he wanted Merrick Garland to speed up, and he said that in private when he's working with these people. It's like, oh, let's speed up the process. Whereas Donald Trump is like, oh, you didn't do what I want, you're fired. That's so comparable. Very, very much so.
Here we go.
These specific
And
people.
by the way, I don't know
I
a
know
living
he was-
Democrat that thinks Merrick Garland.
Actually, I think this is super important. So are you suggesting that because Joe Biden was angry about something but didn't express it to Merrick Garland, that constitutes
You don't know
pressure
whether
on
he
Merrick
did or he
Garland?
didn't, but I know it was put
No,
in a
but do you
story.
know- but do you know?
This is what you guys just said. He says things out
I mean,
loud.
Scott,
Joe
Scott.
Biden said things out
Scott,
loud or had it
I think
reported in a
look,
Politico
I think
so
it's a
people
really
would hear
simple
it.
factual issue.
You're a fucking idiot. Bro.
here with this idea that Democrats, Joe Biden did this to Trump.
I didn't bring up Joe
where's
Biden. I'm not the person
I
who
know,
rejected
but
this.
listen, where's the proof? Don't we need
and to
proof
be honest,
that
I
actually
think
happened?
we either need
And then they play victim, going, "Oh, I didn't bring up Joe Biden. You brought up, oh, now we care because you're referring to a prior system that was going after Donald Trump. So your illusion, the point that you made, the rhetoric, it's not a rhetorical statement. I don't think it would be, but basically your response to what was said before about going after Donald Trump was that a system did it before against Donald Trump. So you were referring to Joe Biden. I hate when people do that when they try to debate. Oh, I didn't say this. You're referencing, you're alluding to it, you're referring to it. You don't need to say things verbatim. I don't know where this debate strategy came from. It's like, oh, I have to specifically say these words for it to be true. I'm like, no, that's not how contextual conversations go.
to agree that weaponizing the DOJ against political adversaries is bad, or it's not. I think it's bad regardless of who's doing it. I think that Donald Trump
What, weaponizing the DOJ? It depends on what you mean by weaponizing the DOJ. If there's actual bad actors, then yeah, you want to go after the bad actors. The problem is Donald Trump has no proof of any bad actors. He just goes after people.
ran on not doing it, and he is directly
Are
doing
you sure
it here.
Comey is not guilty?
No, and I'm not prejudging that. I've talked about this extensively on air. If there's any wrongdoing,
It's bad for Trump to place pressure.
I
to
think
indict
that
him.
putting what looks like a DM to your attorney general
that's-
on Truth Social and being like,
Yeah,
"Oh, we got a few days,"
and
it's
that's
not good. It ain't good.
I'm going to ask for them to point out either any example of Joe Biden doing this. No example. Scott Jennings said, I don't know anything. That's always your fallback. Donald
It
Trump
was literally, I
directly
literally
asked
said, there's a
Pam
story.
Bondi.
There was a story.
Do you remember when Biden said, hey,
And
Mayor,
Biden clearly was pressuring
can you go
people to
after
do
this person? It didn't happen. You have no example.
And also,
It's
on this,
literally in the news. I'm sorry.
But
I
Biden was
know you're
privately
like 12,
accused.
but it happened.
You're smart, dude.
It's like it happened.
it was never reported. And also,
It was reported.
It was never reported that he told Merrick Garland to indict.
And
That was
Scott-
never reported. We know that.
No.
And also, I just have
That
to
was
say,
the reporting said or not?
Yes,
No,
there was a
Reporting said that
story.
The reporting said that he told
The
Merrick
point
Garland
of the
that.
story was that Joe Biden was mad and he was angry, and the
And-
point of the story was that it would get out so
and
that they
he-
would feel
hold
pressure to move on it.
Wait,
So he can't. There's no evidence of this. So he's saying vague terms because he has no evidence to not admit guilt. This is what happens when you have no morals. You can just lie and lie and lie and lie just so you can get wins. Because the people on the Republican side, unfortunately, the MAGA supporters will hear this and just eat it up. They don't really care about researching the truth or figuring out the purpose. They're just going to buy into the narrative. So unfortunate, man. I really do think it's so disappointing how we failed the American people while allowing a one half of the country to believe in this. And I do think that takes that there is blame to the Democrats for kind of just like there's a section of the people in America they were not paying attention to. And now they've became cultists into a fascist regime, and it's so disappointing.
and he told who?
It was done in the report.
Okay, Adam, I want to play what Bill Maher said about this in the same genre and get your take on the other side.
It's the dawn of a
Make your bread, man.
Need an outsider. To me, the Democratic Party is a ghost brand. And if the Democrats definitely need an outsider. To me, the Democratic Party is a ghost brand. And if you could have somebody take it over who's not sentimental about that company and, relaunch it, rebrand it, but it would have to be somebody who is unapologetic about calling them out. People have lost faith in the Democratic Party for very good reasons.
People have lost faith in the Democrats. And do they need an outsider? No. They just need someone who's, dare I say, authentic. They got to appeal to the crowd. They got to be charismatic. When it comes to becoming president of the United States, it's no longer about policy. I mean, Donald Trump doesn't know two shits about policy. So that's why what Gavin Newsom is doing is very effective. It probably is going to be Gavin Newsom because Pete Buttigieg is a great person, but he doesn't have the charisma. He doesn't have the outstanding personality to appeal to the average American because they need like a heroic, bigger than life character. These people are very simplistic and parasocial, and they live through other people. That's what most people do. They live through other people, which is why so many famous people are popping up on the internet, is because they want to live through their lifestyle. So you have to be a larger than life character. you have to be good looking, or at the very least, you have to seem like you're important. Donald Trump has the whole track record of being part of a variety of TV shows like the WWE, like Shark Tank, and all that bullshit, right? Gavin Newsom can do it because he's a handsome man. He's making a name for himself when it comes down to social media. Right now, he's the only larger-than-life character that can actually be something, and he actually has good policy, at the very least, policy that the people on the left will like. He is learning that you probably have to be a little bit more moderate to appeal to the average American, though, which is also important. So it probably will just be Gavin Newsom. Mamdani is kind of proving that, but he's still on the ground level, and he's kind of having the label of being one Muslim because most Americans are just racist. And also, he has a lot of baggage with like the pro-Palestinian Jewish hate stuff that he's getting accused of, and then he's being called a communist. Pete Buttigieg, I do think, just needs more clout. And then who else? Kamala Harris, I think she's kind of cooked. AOC, I think she's a woman, and most people don't want to vote for a woman in America. The only choice is really just Gavin Newsom.
You know, you're the only one I hear who like doesn't look like he cares what the other Democrats will say.
He compared them to.
I hope he's not alluding to Stephen A. Smith being president. Stephen A. Smith is a fucking moron. He better not be president.
Abercrombie and Fitch, a ghost brand. What do you think?
I think that, I mean, he's right that we need more unapologetic Democrats, but it's more than that. The Democratic brand is two things right now. It's a lot of things, but it's both risk averse and it's very, very finger waggy. So all of our politicians are incredibly risk averse. So they're not out there taking risks or trying to do new things. I mean, they're playing it very, very safe. Even as much as I love Kamala Harris and I thought she did well in her campaign, she was very risk averse during all of that. But on the other side of that, while they're being risk averse, they're also just like purity testing everybody and finger wagging them. I mean, I'm a young dude. I like a little bit of like edge in my politicians. I think most young dudes like an edgy politician, not somebody who's out there being, you know, super scripted and tested and everything.
Yeah, I think the newer generation has moved past the kind of formulaic type of characters, right? We've kind of seen it all in both politicians and the media we consume. We've seen it all. So I think that's the big thing moving forward. Is that you got to be genuine, you got to be authentic, and you got to be truthful. These people want transparency. Well, you got to give it to them. Well, 85% of the people understand the transparency is given to them. Fuck no, they won't. But it's either you give it to them and let them fall with the information overload, or hope that they adapt and grow from it. You got to... Sometimes you gotta let them touch the stove. You just do.
So all this comes together to create an environment where, like, I had a young friend the other day who's pretty liberal say that the Democratic Party feels quote unquote suffocating at times. And I think that's a good way to put it.
It's that and academic. A lot of times the simplicity is missing in the message. Donald Trump is being accused of inciting violence after his warning to Democrats. This in response to the new developments in the deadly attack at an ICE facility.
The radical left is causing the problem. They're out of control. They're saying things, and they're really dumb people. I mean, I look at Crockett. I look at some of these people. They're very low IQ people, actually. But the radical.
This dipshit is calling other people low IQ people. It's hilarious. Of course, he picks the black woman. Very interesting.
The radical left is causing this problem, not the right, the radical left. And it's going to get worse, and ultimately it's going to go back on them. I mean, bad things happen when they play these games. And I'll give you a little clue. The right is a lot tougher than the left. But the right's not doing this. They're not doing it, and they better not get them in.
Imagine. This is why I somewhat understand why Destiny's so frustrated. Like, what's the point of us admitting our faults when the most powerful man in the world is putting all the blame on the left? No blame on the right? It just shows you the Nazis put all the blames on the Jews. I'm just saying.
Energized.
That was an odd thing to say. I mean, in this moment, the point about the kind of anti-ICE nature of the shooting is taken, right? We know that. But then for him to say it might come back to them, I'm not sure that that is what's right here.
Yeah, I'm pretty tired of conservatives gaslighting about the current political environment and Donald Trump's rhetoric when all of this escalation can be traced back to his entrance into American politics. His claim to fame was saying that Obama wasn't born in America. He was the first presidential candidate to have his crowd chant, "Lock her up," about a political opponent. You can bring up the insurrection. Even in the past few weeks, my home city of Chicago, he posted a photo of Chicago being invaded by the Department of War. So the broader point here is Donald Trump endlessly deflects and tries to blame it on the other side when he is the one responsible for amping up the tension in America. And I've spent all of my formative years throughout high school, throughout college, looking to the president, who I'm supposed to be able to look up to, and seeing somebody who's trying to place blame on the left, who's amping up the rhetoric constantly. And yeah, it's not good.
So you think it's Donald Trump's fault that a deranged leftist climbed up to the top of a building and shot up the ICE facility, not once now, but twice in
Okay, so he didn't listen. He just waited to respond. So, in response to Donald Trump making a claim that all the violence is all the left's fault, he's responding that this is an issue in terms of growing political strife in the country, and that growing strife includes the president of the United States saying very dangerous and violent rhetoric that is cooking up the heat of political turmoil in the country, which is playing into this current tense scenario we live in today. That is what he's responding to. But you ignored when Donald Trump. Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha. Because you're a little piece of shit. Gotcha, understood.
I think it's Donald Trump's fault that America has gotten to this heated place. I think that's
no responsibility for the radicalization on the left that's causing this violent
that 29-year-old's radicalized by online communities and online algorithms. I'm not going to blame that directly on Trump, but he was caught in a lot of online video game algorithms and all these communities. Donald Trump,
but it's Trump's
10
fault.
Years ago, Donald Trump amped up the tension in America.
So he ran 10 years ago, and this guy then 10 years later, somehow you're connecting. Can't you just take responsibility for it?
Oh,
on the left. Let's not do the he has to take responsibility because he's a Democrat.
I'm a 22-year-old YouTuber. You want me to take more responsibility than the president of the United States?
I want you to understand.
I'm a 22-year-old
I want you to understand that we are in the middle of an epidemic of left-wing violence. They're attacking ICE.
These people, man. These people. I've lost so much. I don't know, like, where we come from this. I don't know where they're bridging the gap. Republicans are so lost now. I'm so disappointed, bro. I literally was. It's just weird. We live in a crazy time, don't we? These people are so lost. Their glasses are so shadowed. And then once this Donald Trump era is over, they're gonna play ignorant of like, oh, I I was fooled. I'll be honest, they don't get a second chance.
They shot Charlie. It's happening all over the country. We have these Free Palestine people running around trying to burn down the Pennsylvania governor's mansion. On and on.
Then
and
maybe
on.
the president
It's not Trump's fault.
The president
that
of
the left is radicalized to the point of saying we're done talking and we're going to start shooting.
Is Trump amping down the tensions?
Amping down the tensions?
Yeah, is he taking the tensions down? Is he trying to do that?
I think he's mad that his friend got murdered. If you want
that. The job of the president is to tone down the rhetoric.
Yeah, number one on the Trump front, we need unifying leadership from the top. You didn't hear Obama. Dylan Roof shot up a black church. He's saying Amazing Grace. He didn't say, I will go after my enemies. Number one. Number two, we see the data indicates otherwise. There is left-wing violence. Right-wing violence, the Cato Institute, far from some far left liberal bastion, said 62% of the murders from political terrorism between 1975 and September 11, 2025 was from the right.
Buying windows shouldn't be complicated.
Yeah, I did a whole podcast episode. You guys can go listen to it. I break down the statistics. Political violence, right versus left, it's majority of it's on the right, not the left. I mean, there's no data you can look at. You can just, but MAGA doesn't care about data. They care about they care like highlighting anecdotal stories. And once they see a circumstance that plays into the narrative, they inflame it and make it seem like that is the reality of society. So, like, when a right winger does something terrible, barely talks about it. Left winger, oh yeah, the entire left is destructive. They're destroying our country. That's the game. That's Nazi propaganda right there.
The DOJ scrubbed the website that said more of the violence comes from the right. And again, I actually don't want to get into the game of blaming because I actually agree with.
I don't want to get in the game of blaming too. But I love to look at things as it is and really fix the system. I'm not interested. But at this point, if we just let MAGA dictate the narrative, then we just got to tell the truth. It's not battling narratives. I have no interest in lying about information that I tell people. I only tell people the facts that I come across, and it's pretty clear. So if MAGA wants to lie, I'll tell the truth, and that's how it would be.
Adam's take from the other night, we talked about the acceleration of radicalization online. There's a broader problem with young men, incel culture that's going on here. That's not just like, obviously we need our political leaders to be more representative of like positive masculinity and of not just blaming the other side. And, you know, every time there's an instance of violence saying, you know what, I'm going to prosecute Soros now. Next up, that's not the way to do it. So I think Adam's right. It comes from the top down. And I think at the same time.
So now we have two people here who are saying it's Donald Trump's fault that someone shot up an ISIS facility.
Again, he's not listening. He's just waiting to respond because he's a little cuck. He's a cuck. He lets Donald Trump fuck his wife. And then he has no values. I just don't respect these people, man. I don't respect these people at all. Like, it's not even a genuine conversation. If it was
over the past decade, you sat here and said, "I need to take responsibility. I'm a 22-year-old YouTuber. You hold me to a higher standard than the man that
I'm holding you to your standard of your punditry.
Donald Trump was just vomiting vitriol out of his mouth about how the other party is weak and evil, and he just said the party of hate, evil, and Satan. You blind yourself to that, and you're focusing on a 22-year-old YouTuber.
Since I've been in politics, I was working for.
Exactly. He's a piece of shit. He's not focused. He doesn't. Donald Trump. YouTuber. Oh yeah, it's your fault. That's how it works.
Members who were whiskily during the congressional shooting. We didn't know if they were okay for many hours. I remember what happened. People didn't say, oh, he was a Bernie bro, so we're going to come for the Bernie bros. There was this nature of we are going to realize something terrible happened and we're going to move on. You pointed to Dylan Roof, which was political in the way that Obama handled it, but the Minnesota lawmakers, Paul Pelosi, I understand why the right feels like they're the victims more. I asked somebody very close to me who's a big MAGA person, and they said, well, they tried to kill the president twice and they just shot Charlie Kirk. Everyone in America knows those two things happen. Most Americans can't name those Minnesota lawmakers. They probably think something.
The person who shot at the president was never confirmed left wing.
Happened to Paul Pelosi and they don't really know, but the data itself is pretty clear. This is a problem we have to acknowledge that exists on both sides. The sooner we take responsibility for all our rhetoric, and there is left-wing rhetoric that I think is very dangerous and contributes to the anti-ICE sentiment, but this is not one side only.
We're back and it's time for your unpopular.
She's correct about that. It is not one side only. I criticize the left all the time. And that's just the reality. I have no interest in just defending the Democrats and the leftists and the liberals. I just know that if there's any point to really look at the lesser of two evils, there's one side that doesn't do everything in the best way, and then there's another side that's probably just genuinely evil. So that's all we got. Hope you guys enjoyed. You have a good one. Like and subscribe. Take care. Peace.